Baylor does present a challenge on the perimeter, which means SMU's corners are going to have to play an excellent game if the Mustangs are going to get a win on Saturday morning.
You are Locked On SMU, your daily podcast on the SMU Mustangs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And I'll tell you why that is here in just a second. Welcome to a Thursday edition of Locked On SMU. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. My name's Grayson Singleton. You see the Twitter right down there. Gray_Singleton2 is where you can find me. I love to interact with all of you. Also, subscribe to the channel. Click that notification bell so you get notified whenever we release new content. And before we get into today's content, I want to tell you that our episode today is brought to you by Mazda. Just like there's more to every player, more dedication, more attention to detail, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Stay tuned later in the episode for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. So coming up on today's show, I found some betting lines from our friends at FanDuel. I don't know if I agree with this. We'll tell you why that is. Plus, SMU needs to establish this part of the game against a quality opponent this weekend if they're going to compete at the top of the ACC. So welcome in. Let's go ahead and get started. And I think there is pressure on SMU's corners in this game against Baylor. I'm going to tell you why. Sawyer Robertson, in Baylor's first game, threw for 419 yards and 3 touchdowns. In the process, he completed passes of 57 yards, 36 yards, 33 yards, 27 yards, and another 20-yarder. And there's more in there as well. If Baylor has a strength, it is their wide receivers. It is the Cole Wilsons of the world, the Ashton Hawkins of the world. We didn't see a whole lot of him, but Kobe Prentice, the transfer from Alabama, as well. Even throw in there Michael Trigg, the tight end for the tight end, who is 6'4" and huge. Baylor is a team that will love to exploit you over the top. Baylor is a team that will get its wide receivers going. They've done this historically, but they do so more now today. It is going to be their bread and butter this year, is going to be their wide receivers. That's just going to be the case. And what I saw from SMU's corners in game 1 on Saturday night was a mixed bag. Deuce Harmon was fine. He allowed some completions in front of him, made tackles. That's good. Speedy Nettles on the other side was good. No more than good, fine at times. And the nickel spot still is up in the air, as evidenced by the fact that there isn't a clear one listed on the depth chart. It's still Jalen Milner-Jones or Lamadrick Spencer. But however you slice the corner's performance from game 1, it's going to have to be raised a level in game 2 to keep up with Baylor. And if there's one thing you can say about Sawyer Robertson is that if you don't pressure him, if in the event that SMU's defensive line does not get home, does not move him off his spot, Sawyer Robertson can accurately pick you apart. Don't let the completion percentage from game 1 fool you, the 56%. Sawyer Robertson is highly capable and has a big enough arm to pick you apart. And he's got the weapons that are going to give him the opportunity to do so. And if you're Deuce Harmon, if you're Speedy Nettles, if you're Spencer, Milner-Jones, whoever is in the game, I think that's what it's going to come down to for SMU. Can you lock up Baylor's receivers? Because I don't know, especially in the absence of Jordan Hudson, especially with the way the pass pro looked a little bit suspect at times for SMU in game 1, I don't know if you want to get into a track meet with Baylor. I don't know if you want to make this a 42 to 37, 38 game. I just don't think so. I do not think the over should hit in this game. Now, do I believe in Kevin Jennings' ability to keep up with an opposing team's offense? Sure. I believe in that because I do believe he still has serviceable weapons around him to do so. But if we're in a game where Baylor is hitting over the top and then SMU's got to come back and then Baylor hits over the top again, I don't feel the greatest about that. I feel the greatest about this game where it's lower possession, the score is in the 20s, and SMU controls time of possession. But they're not going to be able to do that if they can't guard anybody on the perimeter. I think SMU's best path to winning this game is a, 24, maybe even 27 to 16-19 game. I believe my official prediction was 27-19 when we talked to Cam Stewart on Tuesday. And that's what I think a game like this should be for SMU. But if you're going to let the receivers run wild, now you're going to be forced to keep responding and keep responding. And Baylor's defense is not going to be on the field for as much as you want it. And there are going to be more possessions, which means more opportunities to make mistakes for an SMU team that looked rather sloppy in game one. And I know you're going to say, well, Baylor's offensive line didn't look the greatest. Cool. Like, I get that, but let's limit this to SMU in terms of this particular discussion. If you can't guard anybody and you're forced to drop back and drop back and drop back and get out of the game plan that I really think SMU wants to abide by, which is run the ball, get the ball out of Kevin Jennings' hands quick to the perimeter and let those guys make plays and take the pressure off of the quarterback, then I think you're walking a perilous trail against Baylor. And that's not to say SMU can't beat Baylor in a 48-45 game. They could. But I would feel that the best way to victory is a ball control, lower possession type of game. And they're going to come out with their receivers. Hawkins, Wilson, Prentice, Trigg, all those dudes. And SMU's corners have to get physical with them. That's one thing I think SMU, if they choose to do so, could change the direction of the game. Cole Wilson is 5'9", 171. Ashton Hawkins, 5'10", 168. Kobe Prentice, 5'11", 190. 5'11", 190 is the biggest of the wide receivers. Now, Josh Cameron is up in here at 6'1", 225, and he himself caught 2 balls for 54 yards. He had a 27-yarder. But them dudes are small. But they can fly. If you didn't watch the Baylor-Auburn game, if you didn't watch some of these players from last year, these dudes can fly, and they are shifty, and they can get north and south. So get physical with them. SMU's corners have good size. I will say that. I will say that about SMU's corners. They have really, really good size. And I like their size. Deuce Harmon, 5'10", 190. Not the tallest, but he's big. Lamadrick Spencer, 6'1", 191. Speedy Nettles, 6 foot 195. You have solid size at cornerback. Get physical with them. Get physical with them. Don't let them have free releases. Don't miss at the line of scrimmage if you want to jam them. Then you're cooked. But get physical with them. Don't let them do the things that they are comfortable with. And what they're comfortable with is running fast, getting open, and then making you pay after the catch. Because if they're open and the quarterback isn't being pressured, then you might have problems. You just might have problems. But SMU's got a good defensive line. They've got a defensive line that can get pressure. So maybe that's mitigated. But when I look at this game, I think the corners are going to be X factors for SMU. You're bigger than the opposing team's receivers. Keep them at bay. And then you can play the kind of offense and dictate the kind of pace at home that you want to be able to do. Whether or not that it's the strategy that I've presented. Maybe it's different. But at least if they're not running wild over you, you can dictate it. So it's going to come down to the corners. I think they're a big X factor in this game. Coming up next, FanDuel has set an over-under for SMU and Baylor. Do I think I would take the over or the under? You might be surprised, or you may not be surprised at the answer I'm going to present. We're coming right back on Locked On SMU. What's up, SMU fans? Are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money on the table. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited promo code FOOTBALL and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. you can make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already needed. At first, I thought it was too good to be true, but it is totally legit. I've used this myself. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now using my limited time promo code FOOTBALL for a limited time 25-cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code FOOTBALL. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. This is Mazda's Moving the Game Forward, brought to you by those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. Because these moments do more than win. They push what's possible. They remind us to go that extra yard, shift into that extra gear, and keep moving the game forward. What is something in a game that can define it? How about going for it on fourth down? Texas did it quite frequently against Ohio State, and it didn't work out. Going for it no matter what, or even a post-game interview that had a positive outlook, is what keeps fans moving forward. That's what keeps fans and players alike moving forward as well, always chasing the next great moment. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning, and just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Back here on Locked On SMU, I'm Grayson Singleton, and remember, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Click that notification bell so you get notified every time we release new content, which is at noon Central Time every single day here on YouTube. And the podcast comes out at 8 a.m. Central Time every single morning. Well, most mornings. Yesterday we released it at about 9 a.m. But usually we'll have it up for your morning commute. Okay. FanDuel has set a couple of wagers on their site, our friends at FanDuel. So, first of all, SMU is a 2.5-point favorite. By the way, it was 3.5 earlier on Wednesday. I'm recording this Wednesday night. It's moved to 2.5. So, you can kind of start to see where the money's coming in. But the over-under on this one is 63.5. I'm going to take the under. And it's because I expect SMU to win. And by me expecting SMU to win, I believe that it's going to be a lower scoring game. And I think there's going to be fewer possessions, and I don't think Baylor's going to score every time. Now, it's tricky because I come from an NFL background where lower possessions is more the norm. That's not the case in college football. But when I look at how SMU could attack Baylor, and that is on the ground because Baylor showed no propensity toward being able to stop the ground game of Auburn in last week's game. I think SMU could go on some 5-6 minute drives. I think they could easily hand the ball off 6 yards. Not going to snap it until we're under 20 seconds on the play clock. Swing it out to the perimeter. All right, get us a first down. Slow it down again. Maybe not slow it down to a crawl, but SMU has a very realistic path to just moving the chains and moving the chains and moving the chains and burning clock and burning clock. And before you know it, 5 minutes are gone. I think SMU has a very, very defined path to being able to do that. And a lot of it is due to the fact that Baylor's going to be playing without their best defensive lineman, Jackie Marshall. He's got a high ankle sprain, likely won't be able to go. If by some miracle he does go, he's going to be severely limited, both in his snaps and in his effectiveness. So I think with what you found in the run game with Chris Johnson Jr. and with TJ Harden, supplemented by Derek McFall, and you have the quarterback option of that as well, you should be able to matriculate the ball down the field. And I think that's SMU's best course of action, because I'm going to get a little bit nervous. I'm going to be real with you. I'm going to get a little bit nervous if we start trying to put up a fireworks show with Baylor. I'm just going to be a little bit nervous about that. Let me know how you guys feel, by the way, in the comments, or hit me on Twitter about that. But the more I think about this, the more it looks like, because of SMU's quality defensive line too, And I believe the front 7, or I guess front 6 because we play with 5 DBs now. I believe the front 6, even minus Alex Kilgore, is going to be able to get it done to where they're putting pressure on Baylor and to where Sawyer Robertson is not going to be comfortable. And by the way, if Baylor's unable to run the football, like they kind of weren't really able to do with much success, and by the way, they gave up on it too against Auburn, now you become one-dimensional. And that's where I think SMU could really get Baylor in terms of the pass rush. That I really do. And then now all of a sudden, and you've seen this before, and I know I'm laying out a lot, but you've seen this before. A team gets pass happy, maybe get 1 first down, incompletion, maybe you complete a pass short of the sticks, we're off the field. That happens a lot in college football. Kick it back to SMU, what are we going to do? Matriculate the ball down the field, burn a little bit more clock. I really just see this as a game that's not going to be in the 30s from both teams, which is going to have to be the case if you want to hit the over of 63.5. So that's what I'm looking at there. I think it's contrasting styles, and I think the more old school approach, even though it's not going to be an old school game, is going to win out in this case. Now, also, SMU a 2.5-point favorite, minus 110 on your money at our friends at FanDuel. I'm taking SMU. Pardon me. Sorry. I'll take SMU minus the points. Obviously, I think that SMU is going to win this game 27-19. I've said that before. Y'all have to forgive me. My allergies have been killing me the last couple of days. But I think SMU covers this one at home. And quite frankly, you guys are going to love this one. I think SMU's being disrespected. Because remember, you get 3 points for being at home, which means if this was a neutral game, the odds makers think Baylor has a slight edge. I don't know. I disagree. I think Baylor handles SMU, I'm so sorry. I think SMU handles their business at home. And the way I look at it, they do it in a game that really is underneath this line of 63.5. I really do. I don't see this game being 38-33. I don't see this game being 42-38. I just don't. Maybe the under gets close. But if I have to have a play of the week in the gambling world, I think that's the one I'm going to take. I'm going to take the under 63.5. Courtesy of our friends at FanDuel. Coming up next, we'll close up shop. And SMU needs to establish this in light of what we saw around the ACC this year. But before we do so, I want to tell you about an important request that we have. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcasts even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like and what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping us out, and we'll be right back to close up shop here on a Thursday. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For, let's just say SMU, who delivered in a big way? How about Ahmad Moses with his 95-yard pick six? It was in the second half, and SMU really needed to put their stamp on the game in a dominating win over East Texas A&M, and he delivered. No hesitation and no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, this performance isn't a fluke. Ahmad Moses is that dude, and he is on a streak. And just like Ahmad Moses delivered for SMU, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250 including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period runs through 11/18. That's November the 18th. One final time here on Locked On SMU for a Thursday. Let's talk about this. I think SMU needs to establish this. And before I tell you what this was, I want to ask you, what do you think is the similarity between Clemson, Florida State, and Miami? Now, Clemson met a more physical team in LSU, but we know Clemson is going to be physical. We know that. That's a non-negotiable. Florida State established physicality, and Miami sure as hell did over Notre Dame. And I think SMU needs to do that this week against a quality team. Because all three of those teams, Clemson went up against LSU. Miami went up against Notre Dame. Florida State went up against Alabama. They all have been physical this year and shown physicality, some in a very dominant way, Florida State, over quality opponents. Over opponents that we don't look at the name and say, yeah, you're not in this class. SMU was physical, don't get me wrong. SMU's D-line was not moved, and SMU's offensive line certainly moved people. But you got to do it against a quality P4 team. And Baylor is a quality P4 team. Now, is their defensive line the strength of their team? Absolutely not. That was proven in game one. Is SMU's offensive line as good as Auburn's? Probably not. But you can control the level of your physicality. You absolutely can. And SMU, in terms of the teams that have now emerged at the top of the ACC, is the last one to prove it against a quality opponent. Because the other three did, and Clemson, we know they're physical. They just met a more physical LSU team. But SMU's got to do it. Because if you're going to be competing for an ACC championship and the right to go to the ACC championship and hopefully back to the CFP, you're going to have to go through these guys. You play two of the three that I mentioned on the schedule this year. You play Clemson on the road, by the way, and you play Miami. You're going to have to out-physical those dudes. Because I tell you what, you see the way Miami looked against Notre Dame? You see the way that offensive line was moving people? If Miami comes into Dallas and is more physical than SMU, Miami will win that game. Hands down, no questions asked. You can book it. If you go on the road to Clemson and you do not match their physicality in the trenches, you will lose that game. Period, point blank, get a story. But if SMU is going to play up to and potentially get a chance to earn what their utmost potential is, you have to establish your level of physicality. Now, notice that I did not say something like reclaim your physicality. Be more physical. You just have to establish it. Because you established it against East Texas A&M. We get all that. That's great. It really is. But you got to show it against a real squad. You got to. And by the way, I know I just focused on the offensive line, but let's flip it over to the defensive line. Because Sawyer Robertson was sacked 4 times and was running for his life on many other dropbacks. It contributed to why he only completed 56% of his passes. You got to be physical on that side of the ball too. And I'm interested to see that. Okay, Auburn was able to get after Sawyer Robertson. All right. Let's see what SMU can do to follow it up. Auburn got 4 sacks. Hey, SMU, go match that. Go get 4 sacks. Go show that you can push another team around. And by the way, again, you're going to be at home in friendly confines, familiar confines, and another team's coming into your house. So go be physical on both sides of the football. And to me, that will show you, and this will go back to our conversation yesterday about SMU dropping from 16 to 17. They dropped from 16 to 17, partially because of what happened around them, a la Florida State knocking off Alabama and Iowa State starting off 2-0. Had a lot to do with it. But also because, sure, they won 42 to 13, but was there really anything impressive about what East Texas about the East Texas A&M game? Was there really something that stood out and was ultra impressive? I guess the run game looked good, but nothing knocked your socks off. There was nothing that gave an factor, right? Well, you've got an opportunity to do that against a team that the voters will say, okay, all right, you did it against a quality team. You really did. So when I look at it from that perspective, and when I look at it from a macro perspective, how it's going to pertain to how SMU fares against the rest of the ACC, especially the teams that they're going to have to play, that's what you're going to have to show, because you're the last team that hasn't done it yet. I'm going to give you the stats again. We'll close with this. I'm going to give you what it looked like a physical team against Baylor a week ago. 5.9 yards per carry was Auburn. 2.7 was Baylor. Auburn's quarterback was sacked 1 time. Baylor's was sacked 4. Who do you think was the most physical up front? Who do you think is susceptible to physicality? And I know I said at the top of the show that the corners are going to have to be an X factor in terms of covering and making sure that these receivers don't get loose. One way to do that is to do what? Be physical with them. So that's what I'm looking for SMU. Hey, go out and be physical, because the other guys that you're going to be competing for at the top of the conference, they've shown they're physical. You go do it against a quality team, and we'll start feeling even better about you than we already did. All right, thanks for listening to Locked On SMU here on a Thursday. For your next listen of the day, go ahead and check out and be on the watch for later on tonight. College football fans, Locked On and Fire TV are presenting College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview, hosted by Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12, along with Gary Patterson and Jesse Holly, and a slew of local experts, including yours truly. I will be making an appearance on the show this week. A college football preview only Locked On can do. So catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday through the season, only on Fire TV. We will talk to you tomorrow. Hopefully my allergies will be better. We'll see you to round out another week.